Hi! Welcome back to another episode of Student Teaching with Riri. We're on week 9, and I'm very aware that I'm very behind. Life is just so busy. Teaching is busy. And I'm on spring break, which is fantastic. I'm going to upload weeks 8, 9, and 10, so then we'll be all caught up. But a lot has happened, especially week 9. I'm looking through, my notes and my journal entries, and I'm going to try to go through this very quickly while keeping up the integrity of what I've been writing. Last time we chatted, I was about to take my praxis. I passed! Yay! I got a 178, which is pretty cool. I was really stressed about it, especially since 1, I mentioned before, I hate test taking, and then 2, the practice tests were really hard, but the actual exam was really easy. So, and I was on an empty stomach, so it was a little nerve-wracking, but we prevailed. Anyway, we're on Monday, March 16th. Mind you, right now, as I'm filming, it's April 2nd. Pretty chill Monday, from what I'm reading. What I didn't mention in my previous video was I caught my student using AI on his graphic organizer, which wasn't cool. I wanted to talk to him on Friday, but I knew he was taking the SATs on Saturday, so I felt bad. I was like, he's already stressed and freaking out about the SATs, so I'll just talk to him on Monday. And I did, and it was also really nerve-wracking, but he admitted that he used AI. I pretty much just pulled up the graphic organizer. I was reading it with him, and I was like, do you have anything to say? Because some of these points that you're making, they're great, but some are just incorrect and a little too, because every single quote that he put had 2 sentences and it was formatted the exact same way. I was like, this is a little suspicious. And he was like, yeah, I used AI. And I was like, not cool, dude. AI is not awesome, and you're gonna have to redo this assignment by hand. And he was cool with it. He apologized. He felt, I think, regretful. I don't know. His face was red. I feel like he was a little embarrassed. But I wish I had asked, what do you think the consequences should be? Because I feel like that just would have been more beneficial of a conversation to have. But for next time, I think that's a pretty easy fix. So he did it again, and it was much better. Like, he used his own thoughts, and he had handwritten, and it was just so much better overall. So I'm glad he redid it. But then I was also just like, dude, we're in the same generation. I can detect that this is AI without even using a checker. And I was like, I did use a checker because I didn't want to assume. So yeah, I just don't do it. It's not worth it. Because I might be kind about it, but other teachers might not be. Tuesday, nothing much happened. Oh, there is a student in the 10th grade classroom who, he's really sweet. He's a really kind kid. He's very friendly with everyone in the classroom. He gets distracted easily. He usually goes to the bathroom for 20 minutes, 30 minutes every day. It's to the point where I'm like, no, you can't go, but I also can't stop him from going because, he's just missing a lot of stuff that's happening. Anyway, I found out that he doesn't know how to write an essay, which was like, what? You're 15, 16, almost years old, and you don't know how to write an essay. And found out he has an IEP. Doesn't say anything on the IEP what he is specifically struggling with, which is really weird. But we started writing our papers on The Great Gatsby, and he just didn't know how to start. So we started from the bare bones, from the beginning of the whole sandwich method, bun, intro, the meat, main ideas, claims, whatever, then the bottom bun, conclusion. And, we spent that whole week and some change the week after to write his first ever high school essay. And I don't really know what he was learning in his previous English classes. I think in freshman year he didn't have a gen ed English class. He was in a reading intervention course, which is fine. Do what you gotta do, bro. But homeboy is now in 10th grade needing to write essays, and the keystones are soon. And I'm not the type of teacher that worries about like state testing and all that, but I mean, these are just skills you need to know: how to write an essay or how to formulate thoughts on paper. We had a lot of fun working with each other. It was tough. He works better when he's alone, when his friends aren't around. So I found that like when we had like our study hall period, he would come in and we would like lock in. But I think I don't know. I mean, it's just another experience that I wasn't expecting. I wrote a paper. It was great. He worked really hard on it, and I think he understands a little bit more about the process of writing, a topic sentence. Finding quotes that are important to his topic sentence, and then analyzing that quote. I mean, it's a lot to absorb for the first time ever, it seems. So, I'm hoping that it continues, like that scaffolding and learning about writing and stuff like that. But that was an interesting find that I'm glad that I noticed. And I'm also glad that we have 3 teachers in the classroom, because it just would have been really difficult if it was just my teacher doing this by himself. So Wednesday, I taught my AI lesson. And what I mean by that is I taught my students what AI was and why it might be detrimental to their learning. I defined what an LLM was, a large language model. I learned about that too. Shout out to Nick. I explained that like what it was. It's a predictor model. It just spits back things that are just highly likely in its database, all that stuff. And I think they appreciated that because, you say AI and it's a million things. ChatGPT is what they're usually using, or Cloud is new, and Gemini and all that stuff. So we just talked about, what is the AI that you are using and how does it work? I feel like that's always really important to me. As like so much new technology is coming out where it's like, this is cool, I use it, but how does it work? Another thing that happened with the AI conversation was we had Mentimeter for our AI lesson 2, which was like, when do you use AI? Why do you use AI? Blah, 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 blah. Things just like general questions to get us thinking about AI. They said they use it for homework, writing, brainstorming, step-by-step equations, because it's easier, it's efficient, because I procrastinated before and I didn't have time. So we had open conversations about that too. And someone said a response, and then another student was like, that's so AI generated, bro. And I was like, wait, this is a great learning opportunity. When you see something and you say, that's so AI, are you using it as an insult or as a compliment? And the whole class goes, it's an insult. And then I was like, okay, then why do you use AI if you think it's embarrassing when other people use it? And they didn't really say anything, which I thought that was a pretty interesting poll. I wasn't really expecting me to like catch that, but that happens all the time. Like someone writes something awesome, and then instantly their friends like, dude, that's so AI, you didn't write that. No, why not? Maybe I had a really great like flow and all these words came out and it sounds great. So that's another thing. They're very aware of the social implications of using AI, but sometimes they still just use it. I really appreciated their honesty. So we talked about, what's an LLM. I found this really cool research article that I'll link the title somewhere. It's a very new article, came out last year, so there still needs to be a lot more research done, continued research done. But we talked about that. We talked about how using AI or LLM to do your work isn't actually helpful, because this is a very important part of their stage, like developmental stage, and how they're learning. And if they shortcut it now, that it's not going to be useful and beneficial in the long run. A lot of things like that. And I felt like a little bit of a Debbie Downer, but I mean, one thing that I said was like, using LLMs and like using AI is making you look like a product, that what you put out is more worth it than the effort that you're putting in. And I mean, they're honor students, they really care about their grades, they have futures to worry about and colleges to worry about and all that, so I get it, because I was that kid. and I don't have AI growing up, so I totally understand the mindset that they're in. But it's just not worth it. And I want them to know that it's okay to struggle, and struggling is what makes your brain stronger and makes you more resilient. And knowing that like the process and the struggle is something that should be embraced and not pushed away, because that's the most human thing about us. Anyway, I could keep going, but I think they took it well. They were really quiet, both honors classes, after the whole lesson. And I was like to my teacher, like, is it because they hate me now? Because I just lectured them about AI? And he was like, it could be that, or they're just reflecting on, you said a lot of stuff. And I was like, true. He was like, they were really great stuff, but it could just be like they're soaking it all in and really understanding what it means to use AI. Because we also talked about the environmental impact, the data centers and the freshwater depletion, and then we talked about actually some positive uses. So, in the medical field, or assistive technology, or tracking bees and like wildlife to preserve them. So like I didn't just say it's negative. I said like it's also positive benefits. And then I also finally reiterated that it's a choice that you get to make. And I'm not going to deter you from using it or not. These are just some of the consequences that might occur if you do use it. So that was that. Thursday, I had my first grammar lesson, and I never realized, I think this is my worst lesson ever. Grammar is really hard to teach, and not because it's boring, because they were really interested. I just didn't know how to explain it, except for the fact, like, this is how you use a semicolon because it makes sense. And, I mean, I know how to use a semicolon, like independent clause. Sometimes it's also a stylistic thing. And then colons, you use it when you start a list. Also a stylistic use. And then commas, which, there's a million uses for commas, and appositives, and gerunds, and all of that. And really funny, one of my students came up and we talked about em dashes. And she taught the class the difference between an em dash and an en dash. And then as a class, someone asked, like, if you use an em dash, doesn't that mean, like, it's AI? And I was like, no, actually. So we looked up an article, like, why does ChatGPT love using em dashes? And it pretty much said because humans like to use em dashes. It's like, this is what I mean. Like, it's trying to mimic us. And it's not really working. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't look right. Anyway, teaching grammar is really difficult. And that's okay. I think that'll just come over time. But I was really glad that they were interested in it, because in their papers a lot of them use semicolons correctly, which is really cool, or colons. So that was a satisfying moment, I think. And then Friday we had a half day, which is supposed to be a whole day off. It's fine, whatever. We had an Eid advisory lesson because it was Eid on, I think, the Thursday or Friday. But we watched a couple videos. The whole school, second period, had 25 minutes dedicated to like learning about Eid in Islam and Ramadan. So we had a like quick 5-minute video, and then we had a student-made video, and then we got to make lanterns as a class. So that was a cool moment because, we talked about Eid, we talked about Ramadan, what it means to the Muslim community, and they were pretty receptive. And it was great because it made sense that we learned about it too, because in the Kite Runner, they're Muslims, and they had similar celebrations, not Ramadan specifically, but we talked about that too, just comparing and contrasting and like learning more about Islam. So really appreciated that we were every teacher second block had to teach it. So I thought that was really cool that the school did that, because it just, it allows the students to gain more perspectives and learn more about different cultures and religions that they might not be exposed to every day. But yeah, I think I had a really good week. I would say another maybe 9.5 out of 10 week. I think the grammar lesson threw me into a loop, but overall we had a lot of fun, and I'll see you in the next video. which will probably be in a couple days. So, thanks for watching. Bye!